Marketed as the rooftop of the world, Nepal is known for Mount Everest, the Himalayas, and for its extensive natural beauty. The country also boasts being the birthplace of Buddha and home to brave Gorkha soldiers. Although small, there is great diversity in the people, languages, beliefs, traditions, food, and ways of life. Within this, there are vast complexities, and modern Nepal is difficult to comprehend without awareness of its history and of certain events leading to the present. Prior to the mid-1700s, Nepal and the surrounding region were numerous small kingdoms. It was under the reign of King Prithvi Narayan Shah that kingdoms were conquered and the borders were drawn for a nation known as Nepal. Till date, school history books laud him as the first king of Nepal and credit him for uniting the land. But the unification came with conditions. Under the Shah dynasty, 4 primary castes were identified and 36 subcastes were created. All Nepalis were to have their lives determined by where in this hierarchy they were born. For 240 years, Nepal was governed under a monarchy, and although power struggles were common, there was never an uprising from the masses. In 1990, the Jana Andolan, or the People's Movement, led Nepal into a constitutional monarchy with a constitution written by various political parties. It wasn't until the mid-1990s that guerrilla communists known as Maoists caught the attention of the people. Their primary agenda was to overthrow the monarch and establish a people's republic. Over the decade-long war, strikes known as bandas happened with alarming frequency. During the bandas, all roads, businesses, and offices were shut down. But perhaps it was the students who suffered the most, as schools and colleges were closed, hampering the education of a generation. The Civil War finally came to an end with major political parties and the Maoists signing the 7-party alliance in 2006. The former Kingdom of Nepal would be known as the Federal Democratic Republic of Nepal. Later the same year, the king abdicated, and 2 years after that, Parliament dissolved the monarchy. Between 1996 to 2006, over 16,000 lives would be lost and several thousands more are still missing. The Maoist insurgency and the resulting change in government launched the country into its current period of transition and instability. Since then, Nepal has been unsure of how to develop in ways that is inclusive of all Nepalis. The definition of Nepali, as understood thus far, is to have your entire life, from what line of work you're in, who you marry, what your social status is, and what you are privy to, all be decided at birth by your caste. This being a system set heavily in Hinduism also means there is little room for other faiths like Christianity. Although the country has existed with few issues between Hindus, Buddhists, and Muslims, Christianity is often viewed as a Western religion and a threat. Though the new Nepal is a secular state, fundamentalists propagate this notion that you cannot be Nepali if you are not Hindu. For many, the conflict is known as the People's War since it sought equality for large portions of the population who were oppressed or discriminated against. Under these conditions, the new constitution was of paramount importance. For the first time, minority groups were able to advocate for a new legal structure which would be inclusive and allow them opportunity and access previously denied due to ethnicity, gender, handicaps, beliefs, caste, and more. Though monarchy may have been removed, the power struggle has shifted to which political party will replace the king and receive credit for leading the new Nepal. Although various platforms now have representatives from minority groups, most positions of power are still held by high caste male, which means although change is promised, corruption and nepotism is rampant, and existing systems continue to favor those who are already privileged. Women continue to be treated as second-class citizens in a heavily patriarchal society. Many ethnic minorities are still not accepted as Nepali and have been denied citizenship. and those born into low-caste homes are still considered the lowest of Nepali society. With poor infrastructure, a weak educational system, and insufficient healthcare, there is much stacked against the disadvantaged population. After a 6-year delay, the new constitution was finally passed in September 2015, but many were disheartened by how the foundational document was not as inclusive as initially hoped for. With the nation facing so many challenges, Nepal is battling major issues with migration and brain drain. Every day, an estimated 2,000 Nepalis leave the country as migrant workers, and each day, an average of 2 to 3 return in coffins. With little faith in the government and monumental challenges in every sphere, for many, their best hope is to try to start a life elsewhere. To make matters worse, the earthquake of April 2015 and the events that followed added to the growing list of issues confronting Nepal. Leaving over 9,000 dead and 22,000 injured, the earthquake shattered an already fragile country. A year and a half after the earthquake, most affected families have been able to restore their day-to-day lives, but an estimated 2.5 million people or more are still displaced and living in temporary shelter. For them, permanent homes, stability, and a bright future remain elusive. As always, Nepal has been in a tight squeeze between India and China, and the earthquake only added to the complication of trade and perceived cooperation. Nepal also has no choice but to be dependent on its neighbors for trade, imports, and access. Without their support, the country is easily handicapped, as proven by the 5-month unofficial blockade enforced by India months after the earthquake. With the India-Nepal border blocked, necessities such as cooking oil, salt, cooking gas, and petrol became scarce and incredibly expensive. At the height of the blockade, petrol prices, which were about 104 Nepali rupees or about $1 a liter, was sold on the black market for as much as 550 rupees or about $5.50 per liter. Fortunately, Nepalis have proven to be resilient, and even under such trying times, life continued. With an intricate history and an even more complicated present, it is a testament that the nation has come this far. Although the future is uncertain, for now, Nepal continues in its period of transition as it works out what the new Nepal should look like and how it is that we can get there in spite of all the challenges.